This edition of Black Nouveau contains a segment from the Finding Work Initiative, supported in part by grants from Goodwill Industries and Manpower.
African World Festival.
Hi, how are you?
And the Perkins Legacy.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Black Nouveau. I'm Milton, Dockery.
And I'm Faithe. We're glad you could join us. This week, we'll profile Mr. Perkins, one of Milwaukee's oldest African-American restaurants.
We'll talk with John Dickert, the mayor of Racine, and preview Frequencies Lit, one of 3 new works by the Milwaukee Ballet.
But first, this year, African World Festival is scheduled for Saturday, August 6th at Meyer Park. You may remember that the festival returned last year after a 2-year hiatus. And we are joined now by Mark Wade, chairman of the African World Festival Board. Mark, welcome to Black Nouveau.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you today?
I'm good. Glad to have you back. Before we talk about this year's festival, tell me how satisfied you were with last year's festival.
Probably either very or very, very.
Okay.
One of those two. I was happy with the way it turned out, and probably the part that was the most pleasing was just the spirit that you could feel that was inside of our community on that day. But yeah, I was very happy with the way things turned out as it relates to African World Festival's turnout last year.
So we're in details. Let's talk about the attendance. Attendance was good? Was what you expected?
Well, the attendance was probably about, I believe, 4 times what Summerfest estimated it to be.
That's awesome. That's a good goal.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. And part of what could have made it successful was the financial goals. And I know in the past, because African World Festival was canceled for a few years.
Yes, it was.
Because of financial concerns. How's the financial health of the festival now?
Well, I guess the way to sum it up best is that African World Festival's financial situation is fairly solid because of the fact that we have 2 fights to fight. You know, one, whatever our current issues are, our current accumulation of bills are, and debt that we had there in the past. So, you know, we were fighting 2 fights, and probably not the best climate economically to be doing so. But I would have to say that we're holding our own in that we have gone to year-round programming, and some of that raises funds throughout the year for us. And we've had all of our sponsors to remain on board that we've ever had, and we've had maybe in the last 10 days, 3 new ones.
That's
so,
great.
And the 3 new ones were completely unsolicited by us. They called in to us and said they want to partner with us, and their numbers were substantial. So we're looking forward to locking arms with them and whoever we can to make sure that African World Festival continues to take place.
So is part of the strategy of having the festival for one day, is that helping to meet the financial debt and as you move forward, the growth of the festival?
Well, I think that, you know, like anything else, there's benefits and consequences to doing anything any one particular way. Doing one day, it certainly gives you some benefits, and the consequences of them is that, you know, if you could do another day, you know, you could make more money or you could lose more money, and we're in a place where we're just not.
You're not really there to kind of take that leap.
Yeah, we're not ready to gamble, you know, so we have to do things that are kind of a little bit more certain, you know, that they'll come out. And then again, the biggest piece of that is that, you know, when we do African World Festival, we use other people's money. So you use someone else's money, you have to pretty much be sure in the things that you do. So we want to make sure that, you know, the things that we say we're going to do, that we're able to do them. And then we're certainly going to work toward having a multi-day festival, and that's more than 2. It'll be more than that, but at this point, you know, we're gonna walk there as opposed to run.
Okay. Well, what's new and exciting that we can expect at the festival this year?
Well, you know, from the entertainment pieces, we will be adding blues. You know, last year we had R&B, gospel, jazz. Blues will be there'll be another stage for that, and so there'll be a compilation of blues artists that are nationally known, like the jazz piece was last year. Who they are, actually people will be able to go online starting April 1st and vote, and there'll be a list that they'll be able to pick from, and whoever wins is who we'll have.
That's a great way to engage people now and get folks excited about the festival. Go online to African World Festival and be able to vote about who you expect to see or who you like to see at the festival.
Well, I mean, I think that, getting them engaged is certainly a part of what we like to do, and that we kind of like want their advice as well.
Okay, that's great. What is the website? How can we find out more about the festival?
It's www.africanworldfestival-milwaukee.com.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to a great festival
We
this
do
year.
too, so thank you very much for having us
I'll
back.
see you there.
Come on out, Milwaukee.
Okay.
This week, the Milwaukee Ballet will showcase the work of 3 dynamic choreographers in 3 original pieces. One of the dances, Frequencies Lit, is by an African-American choreographer, Darrell Grand Moultrie. Black Nouveau went backstage to an actual rehearsal, so the audio may be a little funky.
So you're here, there you go. Yeah, and usually, let's work this way he can get higher. Because yesterday you did it once where he gets nice and high.
Am I jumping too far?
You're watching a rehearsal for the Milwaukee Ballet's new program of 3 original works by 3 cutting-edge choreographers. This piece is being choreographed by native New Yorker Darrell Grand Moultrie. A 2000 graduate of Juilliard, Moultrie knew he was destined to be a choreographer at an early age.
I first knew dance was in my soul when I was very little. There was a song called Funky Town. I don't know if you know this song. Won't you take me to Funky Town? My mother used to have the record of it. I used to dance in the living room. But I really knew when I'm born and raised in the projects in Harlem, and I would make up dances in the house and get the kids who were like the most talented or who could dance and create dances in my living room. And the kids who couldn't dance, I would make them be the audience in the small hallways, line them up, then we'd come out my door and put the music on and like do dances that I created with my cousins or my friends or the neighbors. And that's when, I knew I've been creating dance from a very early age. I know it's a gift from God because what I do is I listen to my music always thoroughly, and then the ideas just start to kind of pour out. And as I'm creating, I may work on something and go back, look at it on video, change it. But all my ideas, I like them to be organic and tailor-made for the dancer. So if I'm working with you, it's tailor-made for your body so that it feels right. I don't want it always to feel perfect, but I want to make sure it feels organic to the way you move.
This is his 2nd time working for the Milwaukee Ballet. He is much in demand as a choreographer, teacher, and performer.
I started out doing musical theater when I was young in Harlem and kept going with that. And I ended up doing Hairspray on Broadway and Aida on Broadway, and I took a break. And then a friend of mine persuaded me to go to an audition for Little Mermaid, actually. And I was like, and I ended up going, and the casting director for Billy Elliot, the musical, was there. She said, you'd be great for that. So I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I didn't really know what it was about. And she said, I'll give you a private audition. So she had me come in with the creative team, the director, the choreographer, the assistant choreographer, and I auditioned all alone. I had to learn all the choreography, sing for them, and it was one of the best experiences I've had on Broadway. It was a great, great experience. The kids worked so hard. Very great show about dance and males. Being a male in the dance world and having to get around all the adversity and just chasing your dream, and I think it's great for all kids and parents of artistic children.
Moultrie has strong feelings about the need for children to be able to freely express their artistic abilities.
It's something when, especially as a male, to start taking dance classes or start anything artistic, when you, from the inner city, I can only speak from my experience, you are going against the norm. You're not hanging out, you're not going to the basketball team, you're not going to the football team. So that adversity, and I think I've had a lot of people who teased me when I was young, now will stop me and say, thank God you kept doing what you did. And because that adversity could be paralyzing. A lot of people stop their dreams from just what other people say, teasing. And a lot of times I try to push my kids, my young males and females in the arts, that no matter what, you gotta keep going. My mother was very supportive. My father passed away when I was young, but I will say this, arts in the schools, so important. That was huge for me because I had an elementary school teacher who saw me and said, there's something about you that is special. And if you continue to get good grades, I will help your mother pay for anything you do artistically. And to this day, she's still in my life. She's 89 and now she's like asking me about my 401k. So she's still, my third grade teacher is still in my life. And I think in a public school in Harlem, I was exposed to the arts, so I think it's very important.
He hopes attendees come away with a better appreciation for dance.
I want them to have a new appreciation for ballet, a new appreciation for dance, and I want to open them up to the idea that dance can move you, dance can excite you. And in this case, specifically ballet, it can excite you. There is an exciting element to it. And I want them to, a lot of times I really like audiences to come out feeling energized, feeling like they could have got up there and do it, or they want to get up there and do it. Because I think that side of dance is dying. A lot of dance is so personal, and I like it to just connect to the people. I think with ballet and with dance, a lot of times, if it's not connected to what we know culturally, we turn our heads to it. And I think it's so important to, as soon as you say, nah, I don't want to do that, I ain't going there, I want to, no. Stop and go do it. And even if you end up hating it, at least you gave yourself that opportunity, whether it's ballet, jazz, classical music, bluegrass music, folk, any kind of music or artistic things. Try to push the kids to do everything.
The Milwaukee Ballet's presentation of 3 will be at the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts from March 31st until April 3rd.
Few Black businesses in Milwaukee have longevity. This is especially true in the food industry, where Mr. Perkins has been around for over 4 decades. Liddy Collins serves up that story.
That is a good cup of coffee. Oh man, I can make it now.
Hi, how are you? All right.
For over 40 years, Mr. Perkins Restaurant has been doing all right in the Black community, serving up a sense of community and hospitality along with their food.
I've been coming here since I was a boy. I used to live, in the neighborhood years ago, and this is a great place to communicate and see some old friends and family, and you can get old-fashioned down-home cooking, which we love, and it's like coming back home. It's like going to grandma's house.
And that feeling has kept people coming back to Mr. Perkins since they opened in 1969 on the corner of Atkinson Avenue and Capitol Drive.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
With that other guy?
That other guy. We want them to feel like they are at home, just a part of the family all the time. We come here and if we don't see certain people, I don't say we worry about them, but we ask about them so much until they begin to hear of us from the word around the corner somewhere asking about them. What y'all asking about me for? We just don't see them, and we feel it's something liking for them. There's certain faces we look to see every day here.
It's a nice family restaurant, and I enjoy the food.
Okay, thank you.
And I enjoy the people.
Thank you.
And have a whole lot of fun.
Willie Perkins' dream of owning a restaurant started when he was a youth in Tennessee.
Down south, I started working at a restaurant. I think I was somewhere between 11 to 12 years old, working in this restaurant, and my boss used to tell me all the time, after I enjoyed it so well, Willie, one of these days you're going to get you a restaurant, right? And I said, yes, sir. So that was in my blood, and it's still there now.
Hilda Perkins, Will's wife, helped build the business. Mrs. Perkins said her restaurant knowledge was limited when they started, though her high school home economics cooking class came in helpful.
I didn't realize that one day I would use that knowledge to put, plain cooking. That's what we do here, is plain cooking, and that's what we did when I was in high school. Learned to do plain cooking.
They call it soul food, but I don't know no other name to call it, but just plain Southern restaurant, okay?
Their son, Willie Jr., was a driving force in making Mr. Perkins a popular restaurant. He created their motto, "It's not how many come in, it's how many come back."
He was a big, I call it PR man or whatever you want to call it, because he would talk on any subject. They would talk basketball, the basketball players started coming in. Baseball, still have baseball players, basketball players, and they all come in to talk to Will. And in the meantime, other customers would come in to listen to the conversation.
Willie Perkins Jr. died in 2010. His wife, Cherry, carries on.
This business was Will's passion. I mean, Will was wrapped up wholeheartedly. I mean, he gave his all to the restaurant. He lived, eat, slept, breathed Perkins. I mean, that was the joy, and the things that he would talk about, you could see the passion just inside of him. He just loved being here.
Cherry Perkins is now the owner, and just as her mother-in-law learned on the job, she's doing the same.
I've grown, I've learned a lot. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law took me under their wing, and I literally learned this business from them. I mean, I didn't have any schooling in restaurant, or I learned to cook as a child, a young lady from my mother, but other than that, everything I've learned regarding Mr. Perkins and running this business came from the founders and my husband.
Mr. Perkins' popularity attracted over the years the likes of Dave Winfield, Sidney Moncrief, Tom Brokaw, Michael Jordan, and even Danny Glover, who asked on arrival in Milwaukee where to eat.
He came and just was sitting up there at the stool. We looked up, one of the girls said, "That's Danny Glover." So, from then on, he wanted to come here. He wanted to have a dinner party here, because they had told him they were going to have a party down Fist or somewhere for him. He said, "No, I don't want it. I want it at Perkins." So we closed down that evening around 5 and shut off everything, cut customers off, set up tables, and made him some chicken and dressing and whatever else he wanted, and that's what we served. Had the place full.
You two are what, semi-retired, or?
We are retired.
Every time I come here, you're here though, so how does that retirement for you work?
I guess we are tired here up to the place. We are retired that can't get away from here. I think that's the meaning of this one, okay?
Do you really think you can stop coming?
No, we're not going to stop coming. No, I don't think that Will would like that. He would want us to come down, if nothing but just come down, sit with the customers, have a cup of coffee with them, and talk for a minute and then leave.
Cherry Perkins has seen how hard the founders of Mr. Perkins worked to make a lasting business, and she vows to keep it going.
The restaurant has been good to me. It has been good to the community. It has provided employment for a lot of people. We have had as many as 17, 18 employees at one time when the hours were greater. It's been a great experience. I wouldn't take nothing for the journey.
My husband and I put in some hard years, but we don't regret it, because each day we come in looking forward to seeing our customers and seeing how they enjoyed the food.
I started years and years ago. I came here for the food. I stayed for the service, and now it's almost like a family to me. So I come every day. I've been coming here every day since 1977. For the food, the fun, the atmosphere.
That was rewarding to us, just to see them enjoy food and come in, look for them every day, our everyday customers.
The employment challenges faced by African Americans is not restricted to Milwaukee. In Racine, there are challenges as well. Here to discuss the challenges, some solutions, and the impact of the proposed state budget is Racine's Mayor John Dickert. Mr. Mayor, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Mr. Mayor, the unemployment rate in Racine overall is about 13%. However, when you look at African American males, it hovers in that 70 percentile range. How is your administration addressing this pressing issue, sir?
Well, a couple different ways. When we look at Racine's history, it was always a heavy industrial industry. And as industry was leaving, there was no adjustment made to help out those people that were working in those industries to transition. And they didn't transition enough of them into the educational sector where they could move up. So what they did was they stayed flat. What we've done to get at that very issue, especially with the city, is we work with programs like one of them we already have in place. And Ola Bayou, in our first choice pre-apprenticeship program, takes young men who have not accomplished either high school degrees or gotten any farther in their education, takes them in and trains them on basic construction skills. He takes those people then and then actually helps them get a job in the area of construction, some of them working at the Oak Creek Power Plant, some of them working on the I system. We work in tandem with Ola. The other thing that we've done is when my administration started, we went after NSP, or Neighborhood Stabilization Program funds from the federal government. The funds were there to actually help to alleviate the problem that we were seeing in the foreclosure industry. So when I looked at how the structure was for city housing, I found that there was no emphasis on Racine contractors. So one of the first things I did was I looked at how we were structuring our contracting, and we've redesigned our program. Now, instead of 40% of our people actually applying for the jobs, we have 67% of our people working on those jobs. And that was really to stay Racine focused. We have to, and I tell everybody this, we have to always look Racine first. Whether it's our big industries talking and looking for those contracts or subcontractors, to even the city of Racine. What that's done is it's helped boost up our employment in the city, but then we found a problem. And the problem was, while the Hispanic population was serving about 14% of those construction jobs, the African American population was serving almost none. So we sat down with Debbie Embry in my Office of Strategic Partnerships, and we worked out a proposal to bring in the partners that are already out there working in economic development, working in new job development and job growth creation, and partner them all together to create a consortium. Okay. The idea behind the consortium is to train these businesses to get up to that next level where they can bid on what we're doing in Racine. The problem that we found was simply that the business was there and it was working, but they were lacking some basic skills, maybe in accounting or in drafting, writing grants, whatever the question was, they were having problems. Once we saw that they were having those problems, we created the consortium to solve them, and hopefully those businesses now will grow into regular bidders for our Racine contracts.
Okay, so through Racine First, improving skills, have you seen those numbers go up in terms of the number of African Americans, males especially, hired very briefly?
Well, the first part that we're putting together is actually the consortium, and the training that's going on, and we partner with everybody, including the Gateway Technical College, the university system, workforce development. We see the opportunity for this to start working. It's really early in the stages of us putting this together, but I'm excited because of the fact that when you look, and I walk around town all the time, and when you have those males coming up to you and saying, "Mayor, do you have a job?
Got you.
I need some help." I'm working every day, and so is our staff, to make sure that we fulfill those jobs.
Let's switch focus.
Yeah.
Talk about the repair bill. Many of the more affluent municipalities have embraced this new governor's repair bill. How has this impacted Racine, this whole repair bill that's proposed?
Well, the first thing is it came out in a press release last week that said Racine would have an extra $1 million. And that's what we call a broad stroke over the entire effects on Racine. So we sit down with the papers and talk to them about the fact that while the $2.4 million in cuts to the city of Racine were supposed to be directly impacted by the tools were not necessarily there for the city. And the reason I say that is because the tools assumed that the contracts, none of the contracts that we have, and we have 15 contracts, none of the contracts were signed. Well, most of our contracts were done in November, December. Okay. So first of all, you take out 60% of our contracts, which is police and fire. That's not even on the table. Then when you take a look at the rest of the employees, most of those contracts we had already signed. And we did that because we don't we don't bet on what's going to happen in the future. City officials like myself and others have to predetermine where they're going to be in the future and how they're going to be able to keep their costs down. So really the budget impact on us right now will probably be to the tune of about $1.2 to $1.7 million that is going to be completely unfunded. Now, I have asked police, fire, and the AFSCME to come back to the table and work with us, because I think it's really about the leadership of working together with people, and that's what we're going to try to do in Racine.
Mr. Mayor, I have 2 questions, 1 minute left. How will these changes impact Racine Unified School District? 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. The school district has already gotten the concessions from the teachers. We're anticipating a cut at the highest level and the lowest level of teachers. The second thing is, unfortunately, this is short-term thinking, and I think it's going to impact our kids greatly.
Final question, 30 seconds. How can the community help with these issues?
We already are. The Racine is coming together, forming a lot of partnerships. Public sector, nonprofit sector, the church sectors, private sector. We're all coming together in Racine to solve this together, and we will. And I'm very proud of the partnerships and the people that are working together to get this done.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And that wraps up this edition of Black Nouveau.
Remember, in the coming week, do something to expand your world. Good night.
Good night.
This edition of Black Nouveau contained a segment from the Finding Work initiative, supported in part by grants from Goodwill Industries and Manpower.